Welcome, everybody. This is June 2nd, day 2 of our summer craziness. We're just having a blast. It's day 2 and we're already having a blast. This is the Summer Reading Regatta, provided for your entertainment enjoyment by Pages Promotions. Tonight, we are doing the self-help leg of our regatta. This leg is going to be featuring Andrew Smith, Barbara Lally, and in absentia, Pamela Pearson. And Andrew's going to talk about her a little bit because, you know, they're related, so he can do that. So tonight in the room, we have some amazing authors, literary captains, just some great people. First, I want to introduce my harbor crew to you. We have Kate McNeil, we have Brent Seth, Christopher Gare, DA, we know her as Deborah Reed, and of course, Andrew Smith is also on our harbor crew, and Caroline Topperman, all the way from Canada up there. Thank you and welcome. I have to pronounce it that way because I don't spell. So thanks everybody for coming out. Barbara, welcome again. This is your second event with us, so I'm really excited to have you back. Thank you very much for joining us. We're going to have blast tonight. If you have questions throughout the evening, please feel free to jot them in the chat, and my harbor crew will help to make sure that I get them answered. You'll also notice that First Mate Kate McNeil has put in our Harbor Store catalog page of our website. We have an interactive catalog we'll talk about in a little bit. So there's the link. We'll post the link again later, just in case somebody might have missed it. To kick off tonight's event, pretty please, Christopher, if you would let everybody know about our Sailor Shore School.
I would love to. Coming up, we have some very awesome programming on June 7th. We have Caroline Topperman. Did I say that right? Did I say that right? Please tell me I said that right.
Yeah,
okay.
You did.
Perfect.
Okay. I just realized I'm not wearing my glasses. All the time to realize this. So images as prompts, and the first time I read that at first, I thought, oh my God, mages as prompts. That sounds fascinating, but it's images. Images as prompts. On June 10th,
still very fascinating.
Doesn't it? On June 10th, we have someone named Kate. Apparently, she's doing street and launch teams. Apparently, you want to launch a bunch of people in the street. She's going to show you how to do that. It kind of coincides with something Andrew's doing later, too. But no, street and launch teams are pretty awesome. I have never had the opportunity to use them myself, but I know other authors have, and they're really, really good to have. June 15th, DA Reed, or as we say in the hood, Da Reed. You had me at the hook, opening lines, which if you've got a really solid opening line, you are going to bring somebody in. She's going to tell you how to do that. Andrew Smith on June 27th, Shots Across the Bow, Weapons in Fiction, which to me sounds very fascinating, especially because I just found out last night that, I think it was Andrew. Andrew, you like horror, right? Or was it, who is that? Andrew and I are horror buffs, so that's going to be kind of awesome. And finally, on June 28th, Brent, Seth, and I are going to be doing something with Hoes, world building, Land Ho. We're teaching you how to build worlds by mystique and mistake. And those are all coming up. Those are going to be $5 to join if you watch it live with us, and $10 for, and my picture is hanging over the replay. Yep.
And one other thing I want to interject about the workshops, Deborah Reed's workshop, You Had Me at the Hook, is encouraging authors of all ages. So bring your children, bring your young adults, bring kids. Caroline Topperman's workshop as well is also great for younger writers, and both of these will be interactive. You're going to do some writing and some brainstorming. So bring everybody you know, come on out to those workshops. They're going to be a blast. $5 live, and you'll get a transcript and the download replay. And then if you want to watch it in replay later on, that's $10 just to cover our technology fees. That's really all we're doing this for. So that's why we're charging the nominal fee for it. So let's start off tonight. Welcome, everybody. Tonight we are going to have Barbara Lally's going to open up with us. She wrote a really interesting book called The Trickster Diaries. When we heard her read in February for the first time, I was absolutely captivated by this story because it's a topic that I don't know if some of you know about this condition or you've heard about it. I know I hadn't, and it was kind of mysterious to me, Barbara, when you first started talking about it. I think you're incredibly courageous to bring us this story, and I want to acknowledge you publicly and say thank you very much for bringing this to our attention, because people need to know about this stuff, and the more bridges we can build across water-filled chasms, I think the better. So tell us a little bit about the background of your story and how you came to make the decision to write it all down for us.
Okay, so I have trichotillomania, which is the hair pulling disorder, and it's under this big umbrella called body-focused repetitive behaviors. A common one is nail biting. We also have skin picking and cheek biting, things like that. So I suffer from trichotillomania, the Trickster Diaries. And so I developed it when I was 10 years old. I started pulling on my eyebrows, quickly went to my eyelashes, quickly went to my hair from my head. And I've had it, I turned 30 like a week and a half ago. So I've had it for like 20 years. And when I was 28, I almost was falling asleep, and I dreamed that I wrote a book about it. And I thought, I have some interesting stories from this that I find, humorous at points, but I knew always that there were people who had trichotillomania, but I never really heard their stories, and I never saw it on TV as I wanted to. And so I thought to myself, okay, I want to share this not only because it's going to heal me and all the feelings that I've like suppressed, growing up and having this secret that I was ashamed of. I wanted to share to see, can I relate to other people with trichotillomania? And so when they've read the book, they've said, I had the same experience as you. And so that, completely changed my life. And it took, 18 years to finally get to the point where I'm accepting myself and saying to everybody, strangers included, hey, this is what I do to myself. I pull my own hair out and I can't stop. But it is hopefully, opened the door for other people with trichotillomania to share too, because it's just what I do. Doesn't make me weird or doesn't make me any different from anyone else. It's just this thing that I do, and I can still be really happy, successful, and have a great life. So I just
Absolutely. Yeah, it's not who you are. It doesn't define you. It's just a part of you. I'm deaf in my left ear, have been since I was 4. People don't know it unless I tell them, because I don't allow it to define myself. So I just think you're tremendously courageous to bring the story out. I just think it's wonderful. I would love it if you could read a little bit for us, and then we'll do some Q&A after the reading.
Okay.
So please feel free when you're ready and take the helm.
Okay, thank you. All right. Unfulfilled wishes. I wish I may, I wish I might have all my eyelashes grow back tonight. One of the worst feelings in the world for a trickster is looking in the mirror after a pulling spree. Regret engulfs you. It's a physical pain that is felt in your chest and stomach. Why did I do that? Assessing the damage done and wondering how it is possible to cover it up. The only thing that could make it worse is knowing that there is school, work, or just simply going out of the house in public the next day. Praying that the eyelashes will grow before the morning, but knowing they won't. Unfulfilled wishes. Regret. When I look and see what I have done to me, my stomach instantly knots. Why did I do this? Why can't I control this? Regret is consuming my thoughts. But I couldn't resist. The hair was amiss and the texture was slightly grooved. What else could I do? I knew it was true. The hair needed to be removed. So now I am here with a patch by my ear, a bald spot as big as a fist. And tomorrow there's school. I'm going to look like a fool. You are such an idiot, I hissed. Before, during, and after. Before, during, and after, I feel like a disaster. Something can't be right. if I do this every night? Frantic in physics. One of my worst public pulling incidents happened in my 11th grade physics class. 11th grade was an extremely stressful and active pulling year. Everyone was applying to colleges, mostly Ivy Leagues, and guess who wasn't making the cut? Me. I felt stupid, insecure, and overwhelmed. It's not that I wasn't smart enough. I knew if I applied myself, I could have earned better grades. But at the time, grades were not at the forefront of my mind. Trying to control this powerful urge to pull out all of my hair was. I have no regrets about how I finished my high school career, and I never will. At the time, I was predominantly pulling out the hair from my head, only because my eyelashes were gone, and I lost interest in my eyebrows. They were tweezed very thin, but I started to exhibit enough self-control to stop pulling them out completely. Go me. Anyway, my preferred area, for whatever reason, was and still is the back left side of my scalp. Typically, I pull out one specially chosen hair. When I pull more than one hair at a time, I know my anxiety is at its peak. On this particular day in physics class, I was quite literally yanking my hair out, 4 or 5 strands at a time. I would wind my left index finger around a group of hairs and just pull. I did it the whole class period, nonstop. When class was dismissed, I looked down at my feet and saw a huge pile of hair. It was shockingly visible on the white linoleum floor tiles. My stomach cramped at the sight. I knew what I was doing, but looking at what I had done made me sick. I frantically kicked the hair around the floor to disperse it as best as I could. I walked out of class feeling discouraged and embarrassed, a painfully common feeling for a person who suffers with trichotillomania. Are you okay? That same year, I had yet another public pulling incident. I was taking a history test that I wasn't prepared for. And as a result of my unpreparedness, I became anxious, and with anxiety comes hair pulling. My pulling began immediately after the teacher said we could begin our tests and didn't end until the test was over. I remember feeling a patch of hair that was somehow all crinkly, my favorite kind. It was located on the left side of my head toward the top. I started to pull from there and was pleasantly surprised when the hair came out easily. As I was pulling, I would line the hairs up by root on my desk in front of me until I felt embarrassed and would swipe it off all to fall on the floor. I was so focused on pulling and attempting to complete the test that I did not even think of the students sitting around me. I was seated in the second row from the front. There were 3 more rows of students behind me. As we all got up to turn in our tests, a friend of mine stops me. She looks at me and said, "Hey, are you okay?" Her face was filled with such genuine concern, it scared me. She was sitting directly behind me. She must have seen everything I was doing. I shrugged her off and responded with, "Yeah, I'm okay," and continued to walk out the door. We continued to be friends, but never spoke about that moment again. I wonder if she thought about bringing it up. Maybe, like me, she was scared of the outcome. Insecure. I'm insecure, it's true. If you were me, wouldn't you be too? Imagine the struggle of going to school, facing the students, having to go in the pool. The eyeliner covers my eyelashless lids, but what if it came off in front of those kids? I know what they'd do. They'd laugh and they'd whisper, "That girl with no eyelashes, that's Evan's sister."
Well done. Thank you so much. Thank you very, very much. I'm really super curious. You were telling me earlier that you're a teacher.
Yes.
3rd grade, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you ever talk about this with them? And if you do, how do you share this with them in a way that they can understand it?
I haven't talked about a whole group, but I have had students who exhibit the same signs that I have. So during tests, I'll see, pulling of the hair. And so what I've done in those types of situations, because it is very delicate, you don't want to make them embarrassed because they already kind of feel that themselves. So I've taken students aside and I first share, hey, I do this thing called trichotillomania. I tell them about me doing it. And I say, I kind of see you doing it during the test. How do you want to talk about it? How does it make you feel? And so then they're able to kind of share not because they think, oh, she's pinpointing and wants me to just share. Yeah, it's like, I'm sharing first, feel free to share back. Yeah, I've only seen a few students that have done it, but I have broached the topic or brought it up.
I think it's very cool that you're allowing that connection with the children, and with adults in general. I mean, sometimes I think adults are more difficult to talk to than children because, we have a whole bunch of issues going on that prevent us from being empathetic. So I really appreciate it. Now, can you tell? I think in February you mentioned that there's support groups that you're involved with. Can you tell us a little bit about that? So if there's anybody out there watching this video, maybe they can connect.
Sure. So I have something called Trick Talks. I have like a little thing. I bring on people on Instagram Live who have trichotillomania to give them the opportunity to share their story. So I just like kind of ask them prompting questions, and then they're able to share it sometimes for the first time like ever publicly. So because I felt so free after I shared my own story that I really, really wanted other people to have that same like feeling, like, wow, why didn't I do this sooner? But there is a foundation, it's bfrb.org, so Body Focused Repetitive Behaviors.org. They list support groups in any area. They have, lists for therapists, lists for hairstylists that are trained to deal with people with, trichotillomania. So there's no like embarrassment or shame, because going to the hair dresser is something really scary for people.
Or yeah.
So yeah, bfrb.org is definitely the website that has like everything.
Okay, when you get a moment throughout the evening before we close tonight, can you just drop that into the chat? So if there's anybody in the room tonight that it might benefit, you never know who you're going to run into. And I think it's always helpful to be as accessible to people as we can be. So if you could drop that in there, I would appreciate that. Thank you very much. Harbor Crew, does anybody have any questions for Barbara? I don't want to, go, Kate.
I love this. I'm so glad that you came back. I really enjoyed your writing the last time around, so I'm really happy you came back. So while you were reading, one of the things that popped into my head is, after the last year, I think a lot of us are going to be in a place where speaking about mental health might be a little bit easier or a little bit more encouraged. For us as authors, we're putting our guts out there for people. But you are literally putting your experiences out there. How do you deal with being vulnerable like that? I mean, I write about things that I haven't lived. This is your life. How do you deal with that?
I think what I keep telling myself is the good outweighs the bad, right? So maybe someone reads it and they're like, you're weird. My goal, and so I might cry if I say this, but my goal is to have people with Trick read it, look at me, get emotional, read it and know that they're not weird. And so for me, it's I had a parent message me, a parent of a daughter with trichotillomania, and she was 10 when she started. And she looks at my pictures in there because I have some photos. And she goes, Mom, she looks just like me. And so that is just the reason for everything. Because if I had that when I was younger, maybe my life would have been so much more different. Maybe I would have had more confidence. And I'm hoping to, give that opportunity to other people. So I try not to think of the negative comments if there are some. I try not to think about that because I just do it for my younger self, but also for the younger generation, for anyone with Trick who suffers in silence, because it could be very isolating.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Thank you again for coming back. Your writing's very powerful, and I think it's very important that that people hear that from somebody who's been there.
Thank you.
Made me cry.
Yeah, thanks. I was on the verge myself. And Deborah, did you raise your hand earlier? Did you have a question?
I did, because I listened to you at the festival before. Seriously, I can't see anything. You were not crying alone. And just one, yes, thank you for being willing to share your story, because I know that it can't be easy at all. And just knowing, I kind of know how you feel in a sense, because I write my YA with the intent of if I can just help one person. So I think that is wonderful and awesome that you're doing that. And I love your writing. It's very personable and relatable, and it makes me kind of understand and feel more what you're feeling, which is an incredible gift. I'm still crying. And so I guess my question is kind of like more to the future. Like, do you feel like you have something else, whether it's like another personal experience or whether it's fiction or anything, but do you feel like there's another work that you would like to put out there? Or is this kind of like this is what I wanted to do and I've done it and I'm just going to promote this?
So I do have an interactive journal coming out called My Trickster Diaries. So it looks the same. I literally just sent it today to my formatter to format.
Hey, yippee!
Yeah, today is like a really good day for me. So basically, I first thought about the interactive notebook because I mean, it took me 18 years to like get here, right? To get to this point where I'm talking about it openly. And I kind of hoped that having this interactive notebook, people would feel good getting it out there, even on paper. And maybe one day they might turn it into their own book or just like say, hey, let me share this with you, to get that spark going. Because like I said before, you don't want to tell people that you're pulling your own hair out. You know, if you like break your arm, no one's gonna be like, you broke your own arm. It's like, no, my arm broke. You know, for me, it's like, I'm pulling my own hair out. How, you know, people are like, what are you doing? So I have that coming out this summer. It's called My Trickster Diaries. So it's gonna look like, it'll look like this, a little different background, but it's gonna cross the output like my, so they can, you know, personalize, have their own stories in there.
Excellent.
And then, thank you. And then I do like writing poetry. I never knew that I liked writing poetry until I wrote some in here. So I would hope, you know, in a year or so to have poetry, just about kind of anything.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think you're an incredible poet. Good job.
Yes.
I think poetry is incredibly hard, and I think you're really, really good at it. So please keep doing it.
Thank you.
Mr. Andrew.
Yeah, I have two things. First, well, the three maybe. Thanks for making me cry too. I was already getting ready to do that. But the first is just a question for you. You know, obviously going through this journey and being able to write this book and the poetry and all of the pieces and the passion you put into actually reading it, you can tell that, I mean, you're really engaged. Has that helped you? I mean, helped you grow? Has it helped you so that you can control this any further? I mean, has it made you more? That's question one.
Mm-hmm. So it's funny, as I was writing, I have like a chapter in here is like, I'm pulling as I write this, because if I'm hyper focused, I just notice that I'm going to start pulling. So it kind of, writing the book helped me a lot because I would cry when I would write certain stories, and I didn't know I would want to, you know, it came up, you know, all these emotions and all these things that I kind of just like pushed to the side, like, don't feel this, don't feel this. So that was super helpful. As far as the trick goes, it, you know, it goes in and out. You know, sometimes I would have days, months of not pulling at all. And then other times I'm typing on the computer and the whole time it's like I'm typing with one hand. There's no real rhyme or reason for it, but definitely writing the book has helped me, you know, accept myself fully. I get emotional talking about it because, you know, I care so deeply, and I never knew that I would, my like purpose in life would be something that I hid for so long. You know, I feel like this is like my baby, and this is like my cause and my purpose. And so getting it out helped me accept myself more, and also gave me a whole new reason to like live my life, you know?
Absolutely. Andrew, did you have a follow-up?
Yeah, I have a second question for you that's actually kind of, have you considered, you know, you're putting out the My Trickster Diaries now. Have you considered at some point putting together an anthology of many people's stories and tying it in with a second piece?
That would be a great idea.
Yeah, so I have an Instagram page called the Trickster Diaries, and on there, you know, everything is like black and white if it's me. That's like my thing, black and white. But I have other people's stories on there too that I share. So I do like the Trick Talks now, which is Instagram Live, so you can like see them and like have, you know, hear our conversation and watch that. But if you go on my Instagram, you'll see little colorful wreaths, and that is other people who can share anonymously, or they can just share, you know, with their first name, not even their Instagram tag. Sometimes they want me to tag them. But yeah, I do have some stories on there. But I think, having a physical book with that would be really interesting. So thank you for that idea. That would be really cool.
That is a great idea. Andrew is full of really great ideas. Go, Kate.
We have a wonderful question in the chat. I saw Luba's name, and of course that made me happy. She said, your storytelling is incredibly visual. I'm just curious if EFT, which Luba, correct me if I'm wrong, I think that's the emotional freedom technique, or tapping is something that is commonly or sometimes used to diminish the behavior.
So I have heard of that. And I'm with a holistic therapist at the moment who does the tapping. And for me, it works great at the time. I wouldn't say, for me, nothing is an end all or like a cure for me. I always rotate what is going to work at the time. But I think trying anything at all is like a great step. And I think sometimes it works for people, sometimes it doesn't. But I find that, yeah, just adding more tools to your like Trickster tool belt to try to, fight those urges, because they're there all the time. I like to say it's like, the people that have a mosquito bite and they scratch it until it bleeds. That itching sensation, it's similar. I get the same type of itching, sensation, and I want to keep going to the same spot. So it's trying to find ways to slow that down. So if the tapping works for someone, that's fantastic. I would definitely continue to try it.
Awesome. Wow. I'm so glad you came back, Barbara. This is so fantastic. Please keep connecting with us. I want to keep telling your story, and I want to see that book of poetry sometime next year, maybe. I think it would be great. Absolutely. Just keep doing what you're doing. You're doing wonderful things. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Agreed.
Thank you.
We are now going to go on. Let me share my screen again. We're going to go on and we're going to talk with Andrew. Wait, let me show you one more time. This is Barbara, and this is her book, The Trickster Diaries. We're going to be giving away a copy tonight, but if you don't win it tonight, make sure that you jump onto our Harbor catalog and get a copy for yourself. It's a powerful read, and I think you'll really, really enjoy it. And you might want to give it as a gift, even for somebody who doesn't have this condition. I think it's a very powerful read, evidenced by those of us who were near weeping tonight. So congratulations, Barbara. I think you did great with this. Moving on, if you don't have your tissue nearby, grab it. This is Andrew Smith, and he's going to be talking tonight about a book that he co-wrote with his sister called What Not to Say to People Who Are Grieving. His sister is Pamela Pearson, and I'm going to let Andrew introduce himself and tell you a little bit. Andrew, if you would, tell us why you were compelled to write this and kind of the process behind its creation.
Well, this may be rough, and I'm going to start out by saying the best laid plans of mice and men often fall apart horribly. My little sister was supposed to be here tonight, and because of many conflicts that she's going through right now and the difficulties she's having, she could not be here. She has numerous things that she's involved in. Unfortunately, in December of last year, my niece, a 25-year-old young lady who was a leader at her college, who had several cheerleading teams under her, who was an actress and was in numerous plays, was going to help a person who had called for and been in a car accident and flipped their car and crossed a highway and was hit by a car and killed. It was tremendously difficult, and the first call I got was in the middle of the night that I at first thought my sister was kidding, and I immediately got in the car and started driving. When I got down there, obviously there were a lot of people there. There were a lot of things going on, and after several days of just sitting and crying in a corner with my little sister, we started discussing all of the things that were being said. there were hundreds of people there, if not thousands, and there were over 1,000 people at the memorial service. There's been a foundation created. There's been 2 scholarships created. Haley was very well known, and we decided that maybe there needed to be some guidelines for people, simply because some of the things that are said and done in the middle of it all don't necessarily help. And there's no good guide. There are a lot of books out there. We started looking, and my little sister said, we need to write a book. And I've read your books. I want you to write it with me. And I think you'd be perfect. And so we came up with a plan, and we sat down, and for 5 months, we were on Zoom calls just about every night writing this book. It's not the longest book in the world, but we revised, we walked through, we revised. And what we have come up with is the dreaded what not to say to people who are grieving. And it's trying to stay positive, trying not to make people cry. And it's not just the negatives, it's the positives, but there were so many things that were said that were almost devastating, and people don't realize it. So we wanted to open it up.
Absolutely. Before you read a little bit from this, Andrew, I would really appreciate it if you'd let people know about your writing background, other things that you've written, and just give us a little bio on your creative self before we go into the reading.
Well, that's what's going to be funny. I like to write everything and adapt to whatever style. I've written significant short stories, and when I was younger, wrote several short novellas, which are still on paper and have never been typed and put into computers, so that I haven't put them together. But I started actually publishing with A Slice of Passion, which is a book of poetry about the edge of passion. And passion isn't just about it isn't just about the things that people think about passion.
Yeah.
Thank you, Christopher. But it's about, you know, that almost uncontrollable feeling that you have to do something. And I have so many passions that it just felt right. Then I published a book of short stories, and I was challenged by friends. And in 2016, I started writing a series of novels, the Masterson Files, which are action adventure. I am in the process of finishing, working with a wonderful editor, of finishing a new book series called The Eternal Forever, that is a little different about an eternal. And I also have a young adult that is finished called Burial Ground that I'll be introducing soon, along with a 6th book. And of course, my most recent published book, A Slice of Fear, which Diana wrote a very nice review of. But
it's a great collection. It really is.
Kind of-
What I find most astounding about you, and we'll talk about this after you read, but you're a walking multiple dichotomy. I mean, there are so many different things that you write and that you're involved in, and I am continuously fascinated by your ability to put pen to paper. So I really appreciate you being a part of our festivals and being a part of our family here. So thank you very much for that. If you are ready, when you are ready, feel free to take the helm and read a little bit for us.
And I do want to start up by saying that I picked what I thought was a safe passage, but if it is not, you'll know. So part 1, the not so positives. Ever play ping pong? When we started writing this book, we had a relatively clear idea of how we were going to approach it. The idea revolved around all the things that were said during our grieving process to us that were not so good, didn't help us, or seemed a little insensitive. I guess you could call these the not so positive responses, and they became the basis for how we were writing. You know, what they say about the best laid plans. As we continued writing, we realized you could not have the negatives without pointing out the positives. There were so many of those as well, and we knew that the positives would help just as much as the not so positives. Then we considered, what if that person has their feelings hurt by knowing they said one of these things that we considered negative? Then we thought, shouldn't we be trying to help people that are dealing with the same situation? Pondering for a little while, we thought, shouldn't we be softer in our approach? Then it became the opposite. Shouldn't we be more direct in our approach? By that time, we were ready to pull out our hair and go bald. We realized we had to make some decisions and put a stake in the ground. In the end, there are always questions that we must answer of ourselves and of other people. We decided to approach both the positives and the negatives with the negatives first. The idea was to avoid some of the things that could be potentially hurtful and then give reasons why we feel avoiding them was a good idea. These are from our own experience or someone that we have talked to on occasion. We also decided what was not so positive for us might be positive for someone else. We humbly state that these are just our own findings and opinions based on our situation. We have found from talking with others and from our own experiences, knowing what to do or not to do, what to say or not to say, seems to be a struggle for most people. Helping someone who is grieving can be a tough place to be, and many people would rather not have to be there. If they do feel compelled to be there with those grieving, they many times don't know what to say or do. As we approach the more positive solutions, we could also give reasons and explanations while having already set a foundation to avoid the negatives, because they're already out there. Step 1 should always be to avoid the negatives as much as possible. Step 2 should be to look for the positives and apply them when the time is right. We know that each of you reading have taken the first step, and instead of just jumping in and saying, I know exactly what to say or do, you'll instead pay attention to learn and potentially see a bigger picture of how a grieving person is feeling. We hope you learn our version of what could or could not help a person who is grieving. Just learning a few things that gave us comfort during these difficult times could potentially help you now or in the future. We too, after having to go through it ourselves, will be better equipped to help others when they're grieving or faced with difficult circumstances. We also realize we are growing constantly through the creation of this book as we write, read, edit, and are passionately involved with every word. You may be wondering, why focus on negatives or positives all when they can sometimes be interchangeable? The reason is fairly simple. There are certain global statements that can usually be taken as a negative, and in those, we at least want you to think about the potential effect they can have on a person who is grieving. We also acknowledge that many things that we'll be writing about may not be how some people feel. We have and will continue to say that. It may be that a not so positive statement is what someone genuinely believes and what they feel they truly need to say. In that case, at least we've given them the opportunity to temper or listen a little further before they address a grieving person. We know there are a lot of people that are so adamant in their beliefs that they won't necessarily pay attention to those things pointed out as potentially negative. This is especially true with some of the statements that revolve around religion. We are both very spiritual and would never set religion aside. We both felt a series of difficult emotion during our grieving process point out that using religion as a foundation may not be a direction to take early in the grieving process. There will be a time to share your beliefs that might help someone during that process. Ask yourself, is this the time? Will this make them feel any better? Will this remove any of their pain? Should I just wait and share this with them when they can actually hear what I'm saying? And will they be able to accept what I'm trying to share with them? There is an old saying that has been shared for many generations that still stands true today. There is a time and a place for everything. Take a moment and take inventory of your positives and negatives and know how you would approach each one. As you read the text, try to understand not only what the speaker was saying, but how it could be interpreted by someone who is grieving. By doing this, you can exercise your mind and imagination, and in the process, determine if we have pointed out the negatives you would have pointed out, and vice versa. Now, take another moment and journey with us to a world that is not as positive as many people think, nor as negative as others may consider. Let's take a moment and look at the things that we should not say to a person who is grieving.
Thank you very, very, very much. I'm really looking forward to reading this. I know it's a brand new book, just recently released. I don't even have a paperback copy of it yet. It's that new. So tonight we'll be giving away ebooks, but I am so appreciative of the work that you and Pamela have done on this topic. you know, every one of us has lost people. More of us have lost people during this past year than we care to admit or acknowledge. So I'm really pleased that you decided to take this on. What, you know, in novels, we always say, what was the easiest, what was the hardest part for you to do this? I can't imagine that there was anything easy about this process, but was there something about it that that lent comfort or appreciation to you and Pamela as you were writing? Is there something that sticks out for you?
Well, there are two things. First is we got a rhythm, and we got a rhythm together. Second was the end result. And one end result is obviously the book, but the second end result is something that my little sister said to me last week as we finished the last page and reviewed the last proof, and we're sending everything off. And that was, you know, that we can't stop this now, because she moved away to Nashville a long time ago while I was still in Kentucky. And she said, I missed being around you, and we've spent more time together in the last 6 months than we have in the last 6 years. So it was a lot, and it meant a lot as we were going through. So those were the big. The rest fell out. People gave us all of the information that we could have, because people were walking up during the memorial service and giving us content. And
Yeah, I can imagine you got a lot of content. Yeah, I can only imagine. I think it's fabulous that again, you and your sister, like Barbara, are being tremendously courageous in sharing this really painful period of your lives with us, and maybe making it easier for some of us who don't know what to say. You know,
that's our hope.
Yeah, I think it's a really project, and I am really grateful for it. It's going to be a book that I put on my shelf, and I know that I will refer to it often.
Now there is something fun about the book. You don't have to read it. Oh no, what are you talking about? We put an appendix in and did an abbreviated list of what not to say and what to say at the end, so that if you run into the store and need a book, you can grab a book and look up, oh, okay, I'm good, I'm off.
That was absolutely a great idea, because for some of us, it's a hard topic to get through.
Right.
And it's nice to have the cliff notes for hard topics.
Which is what we felt too.
Yeah, I absolutely. Caroline, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, I'm like dying to jump in here.
No, go ahead.
If you have, is there anything about like giving responses to people when they say really kind of horrible things? Like I'll give you an example. And I mean, sorry, even before I say that, this book is so necessary, and I just kind of feel like everyone should get a copy.
Yeah, I agree.
But like we had a crazy experience, and this was a very long time ago, so we can kind of laugh about it now. But when my mom died, and my parents were my mom had a Jewish background, and this right at the funeral, someone comes up to my dad and goes, well, why wasn't she buried in a Jewish cemetery? And starts kind of like accusing us of all this stuff. And it was this really bizarre moment. My dad's like, my poor father is standing there. He's like, well, because I'd like to be buried next to my wife when I die, but it was just this horrible moment. And it's okay. It's like, we can laugh about it now. But is there I was curious if there's anything like that in there too, of like how to kind of, when when you feel like you've been kicked in the stomach.
The book is kind of, and the way that we approach this is, I wrote the openings in most cases and tried to be a little higher, and then my little sister wrote the stories, and then as we progressed, I wrote some of the stories, and in the stories she makes note that she just sometimes stared. I mean, how can you respond to certain things? When something comes at you that is completely out of left field, or when you're already devastated, and we make the statement several times that you have to gauge, the best thing to do is to listen, but you have to remember that somebody going through grief this heavily, they're entire emotional system is overloaded. They are right then and there completely defensive. They have no concept of what's going on, except they're trying to get through moment to moment. And my little sister, I don't sleep, maybe 2 hours a night, and she was calling me every night. And a lot of times we would just sideline and talk for hours about our very horrible childhood or about other things, or we would just talk. And it gave her some ways that she could vent, and I would tell her dumb jokes. She's actually gotten used to my dumb jokes. We'd be on Zoom and I'd be making jokes because we'd make a mistake and the word would be so wrong, and I'd say, and we went blah, 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 and we'd both start giggling and coming up with other words. But I think it was good for both of us, because often we'd just both start crying in the middle and we'd stop for a little while and then keep going.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you for writing it. I mean,
Yeah, we are all very grateful. Deborah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I just want to say thank you as well, because I am by nature a very shy person, which most people just don't have any idea, because I fake it really well.
You do.
But-
Congratulations.
Thank you. Lots of years of practice. But I also overanalyze everything that comes out of my mouth. I mean, just ask my husband, who's like, I'm like, oh, well, I said this, should I have said this? Like, do you think that they think this? And he's like, no one is thinking that you meant that except for you. Like, why are you obsessing over this? It doesn't make any sense. And so it is very hard for me personally, when I know someone who's grieving, to know what to say or what not to say. And also like to want to be able to help, but like literally having my mind go blank and just having those dumb platitudes that no one wants to hear, that you just hear a million times and you just don't want to hear it one more time, but that's the only thing in your head to like offer them. And so from a personal perspective, thank you. I will be buying your book, because I definitely think that it is something that is needed out there. And also for people who are not introverts, but who are more extroverted, who just don't think before they open their mouths.
Sure.
I mean, I think Kate is right when she put in the comments, it's one of those reference books for life that we should all have on the shelf. It's just very much needed. So thank you for, I know it could not have been easy at all, but thank you.
Well, one of the other things that we did is we put a chapter in for giving a gift, and some of that has some additional, everything, historically people sent sympathy cards to, starting a meal train. That was one of the coolest things that people did. Instead of all the food, they started a meal train, and they ended up with food until about April.
Oh,
And
that's incredible.
there were just things that people came up with, just helping without looking for it, texting without expecting a response and saying, I don't expect you to respond. There were just tons of things. And we have a whole chapter on suggestions of how to, how you could make a difference.
Fantastic. Christopher.
I hope this doesn't sound bizarre, but in hearing it, and Andrew, I loved it, there are about 100 copies I'd like to send out to certain people. Grieving even for pets. And I'll tell you why. My second husky, my second Siberian husky, we had her cremated, and I had told my parents, I will take her up, I'll handle it, yada, yada, yada. I go to pick her up, and there was, I'm going to guess, a high school student behind the counter. They said, give us 2 hours. I came back 2 hours later and came back. I said, obviously, I'm distraught. I had been crying. And I said, yeah, I'm just here to pick up my dog. And she says, oh, well, we had a problem with the ovens, and she's not quite done yet. I can take you back there and show you if you like.
Oh,
I'm like, what makes you think I want to see that? Gets better.
Wow.
I go to work on Monday morning. I have a coworker who is very, very religious and very much into his specific beliefs. And he said, hey, he says, how was your weekend? I said, we put my dog to sleep. And his response was, well, animals don't have souls. That's what you want to hear. Yeah. So I'm biting my tongue. I said, how was your weekend? He said, oh, Sunday was super. We had a great time at the altar. And I said, did we sacrifice a virgin?
Oh my gosh.
That apparently was offensive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jeepers. Wow. Well, good for you, Chris.
Yeah.
Good job.
The things that come out of my mouth I did not
Laughter.
see coming, but
That's one of those things where it's like, you wish you had the perfect comeback. I'm going to write that down so I can
Oh my
use
gosh,
it.
Christopher has all the comebacks. I mean, if you ever need one, just
Yeah.
ask him.
I like that.
Brent, Brent,
Yeah.
Christopher, I have had that same discussion.
No, Andrew, I think you need to come up with a pocket-sized pamphlet, something that costs like 50 cents to print. People would buy them by the bushels,
Yeah.
and have a nice version, one that says thank you, and another one that says F you, and just you pull out the right one for the right response, and you don't have to deal with this again. Because
I think this is a class like so many others, I think, in basic life that should be taught in high school. Because things like this, we aren't prepared for. We don't know how to do this. Nobody teaches us this. When my stepmother passed away, I was the one who went with my father to the funeral home and made all the arrangements and, all that stuff. And it's in hindsight, it's kind of weird to say this, but I'm glad I had the experience because now I am more well prepared should, God forbid, somebody else in my family die. So I'm really grateful that I was able to learn it. But truly, I believe that this is an incredibly valuable resource that I need people to really take a step back and say, look, this is important. You need to look at this and then share it with your family so that they know. I think it's just, I'm so grateful, Andrew, that you took this on because a lot of people don't. They go through their process and everybody's allowed to grieve however they grieve. But there are so few people that go through the process and think, okay, how can this benefit the next person? How can I make my suffering, enrich somebody else's life? So I'm tremendously grateful, Andrew, that you did this.
Well, it's a good start, and my little sister, I mean, obviously she deserves some of the credit. And
Absolutely.
we sat and this is a labor of love, and we want to try to help other people not go through what we did, and especially what she did, because she had a real rough time, and it took her a little while to be able to go out in public because some of the things that were being said were so intrusive and
Sure. Yeah, I
just that
understand.
you don't realize.
I have one more question for you, and it's a writing craft question, and then we'll move on to the spinning wheel of happiness and all the silly stuff that we do. But my question is this: from a writing standpoint, how did you manage the collaboration? I've never collaborated on a piece before, except with Drake, who's an invisible duck, who, not a lot of leverage there. But I'm wondering how you managed the actual process of collaborating through this project.
It was actually pretty interesting. I scheduled a Zoom at 7 o'clock at night, and we usually went through to 11 or later, depending upon the night. And we read everything line by line. And at the end of the night, we assigned each other what we needed to do for the next day. We had a notebook with our OneNote that we put random thoughts and pieces, and that notebook grew out of control very quickly. And became massive. And then I would copy and paste things in, and we'd go through it up to the point where I said, okay, look, I'm block quoting here. And once I have block quoted it, you're not allowed to read it again, because we ended up changing things over and over and over again, simply because we didn't want to hurt anybody's feelings. And at the same time, we wanted to be pointed enough that some people knew that it probably wasn't the right thing to say at the time. And I'll give you a good example. There was somebody that asked, Amy, I want to know what is one of the don't says. Well, here's a good don't say. 25-year-old young lady who had her whole life in front of her, who was very active in her church, was working on changing the world. And while I was sitting there with my little sister, someone walked up and said, well, you know, God needed her more than you did. And
Wow.
it absolutely was devastating. And it also made my sister for several days, if that is true, and she believes in a loving God, if that is true, then how can I believe in a loving God anymore? Because here my 25-year-old daughter was taken away from me. You know, there are things like that, things that are of a religious nature, or pulling out a quote. There's a whole chapter on this, but pulling out a quote that seems to fit without necessarily knowing what your quote is doesn't necessarily work. You know, just measuring things along those lines and determining, hey, you know, it's a little bit more. And just from a what to do on the number one thing is be there. Best place to be, being there makes a statement that you're looking out for their best interests, even if you're not saying anything, even if you're not doing anything, even if you're just sitting there quiet and holding their hand, be there. That's what works.
Absolutely.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's one of the many things.
Pretty universal. Yeah.
Yeah, but we have and lots of this out, but 15 things not to do and 10 to do, plus all gifts and the quick, and there's a lot to it, and it's a lot more than just those, because each chapter is built with a little bit of love, a little bit of sprinkling, and a lot of fun.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I want to show everybody the cover of the book again, just to remind everyone. This is What Not to Say to People Who Are Grieving by Pamela Sue Pearson and Andrew Allen Smith. And thank you again, Andrew. I am really grateful that you're doing this. I really appreciate it. Thank you both, Barbara and Andrew, for being here and doing a really difficult, courageous, amazing, incredible thing. I keep doing what you're doing. I don't know how to, you know, do this again. I don't know how to be more grateful without being redundant. So I hope that you hear the message. So
it's all her, wherever Barbara is on this. It's all her.
So let's give away some stuff. Let's do our spinning wheel of happiness, and let's see if we can do this now. I'm using a brand new headset. I'm hoping I got the noise right. Let me know if you hear sounds and music and stuff when I do this. But for those of you who haven't, this is only day 2. Every night we give away books that our Captains of Literary Wonderment have been so generous in donating, and the way we do that is we spin a dopey little wheel that I call the spinning wheel of happiness, just because I think it's just so cool. The simplest of things in life really get me going, and this thing for me is ridiculously fun. I'm hoping everybody can see it. Can you see it?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Good. Okay. Good. All right. So tonight we are giving away 3 books. And number 1 is going to be Barbara's book. And then we're going to give away 2 for Andrew. And again, Andrew's book is so tremendously new that it's out only in ebook at this time. So we'll talk about how you redeem your prizes after we spin the wheel. So you ready? This is the Summer Reading Regatta. So the wheel is nautical. Each one of the burgees on the wheel represents the first initial of your first name. So here we go. Hooray! I love the little hooray. So congratulations, Julie. You have won. Let me show it to you again, just because, you know, I'm doing this thing. Can I do this again? Yes, I can. Okay, so congratulations, Julie. You won a copy of the Trickster Diaries from Barbara Lally. It's really cool, and she's got bookmarks and stuff inside them. It's really fun. So congratulations, Julie. Yay! And by the way, Julie, I hope you're feeling better. We are now going to give away ebook copies of Andrew's book. Let me get the wheel back up here again. Here we go. We're going to give away 2 copies of Andrew's book tonight. So here we go, spin number 1. Hooray! Xander Cross, you get a copy of Andrew's book. Congratulations. And now we're going to spin it one more time for that second copy. Hooray! Congratulations, Francesca Moore. You also get a copy of Andrew's ebook. So now you're probably wondering, okay, how is it that we redeem these? Well, my voice is starting to give out on me. So Kate, I'm going to share the screen. If you could go through this, I would appreciate it.
Absolutely. So you've won a book. This is awesome. This is why we do it, part of why we do what we do. So if the spinning wheel of happiness picked you out of the wheel, you do need to send an email to Diana with your mailing address, your snail mail address, where she can send this to you. Although, is it different with the ebooks, or is that just going to be some directions?
I still need shipping address, because what we're doing is we're verifying it with the your registration. So
gotcha. Perfect. So make sure that you send it to diana@pagespromotions.com. If you don't already know that email address, I suggest you pick up your phone and snap a picture of it. You have to send that in by midnight tonight to claim your books. And these are amazing books. Why would you not want to claim these books? If you somehow forget, I don't even know what to say about that, but they will be added back into the rotation and somebody else is going to win them, and tough luck. You're kind of, out of it there. But like Diana said, you do need to use the email address that you use to sign up for the Summer Reading Regatta, again, just so that we can match it up, make sure that nobody else is trying to snake in and steal your book or anything like that. So just make sure that you do that. Again, with these books tonight, I'm sure that both you guys, all 3 of you, have already sent the email. So just make sure that you do that.
awesome. Thank you very much. Deborah, I'm going to ask you if you wouldn't mind to step in here and help me out. I'm recovering from bronchitis, so my voice is I've got issues. So if you would please talk about this Life Raft Lottery nonsense.
Oh, well, in each book, I know last time we had kind of done some like bronze, silver, gold tickets and everything. You're going to want to look inside the book that you get in the mail, because there will be a Life Raft Lottery ticket, and you need to scratch off the seal to find out if you are a winner. And if you are a winner, then you get obviously one of the prizes. You could kind of see the bonus prizes there. And it is one of those things where there are only so many prizes. So if you do win, you want to, I believe you have to post a picture of yourself with the lottery ticket on the Pages Promotions Facebook site. And so you need to make sure that you do that right away, because if other people they get winners and they beat you to it, then the prizes will be gone and you won't be able to get one. So you just want to make sure that you do that right away.
Absolutely. We have 9 bonus prizes that we're giving away. You can see them there on the screen. We're giving away a lot of really fun stuff. We have some super generous authors. So thank you very, very much, everyone, for your generosity. And again, just so you guys can see what they look like live and in person, these are the Life Raft Lottery tickets. And you're going to see there's a little hologram on there on the sale that you can scratch off. One says winner, one says not a winner. And that's how you'll know. Kate. Actually, you know what, Brent? You've been pretty quiet tonight. I'm going to make you talk next.
Okay.
So, Brent, we're doing this, which is the super bonus giveaway prizes. Can you talk about these?
Oh, you expect me to remember all this from memory?
No, it's all written down.
Okay, yes. Our face group will vote on their favorite 5 video. Oh, the videos, yes. Okay. Now I haven't been paying attention to this because I do not sing. When I sing, angels die. So as soon as somebody comes up singing, I just turn it all off. So yes, there's a contest where if you win one of the books and you have your golden ticket or your winning ticket, you have to do a video singing this lovely song that's onto the left side of your screen and post a video on Facebook.
Would you like me to save you, Brent?
Please.
I'll throw you a life ring. Here we go. I appreciate it, though. Thank you. So here's what's going to happen. If you get a winning Life Raft lottery ticket in your winning book, I'm going to post this on Facebook. You need to perform this poem dramatically and in costume, some nautical themed costume. And then post a video of you during that performance on our Facebook page. The members of our Facebook page will vote on their favorite videos. We will give away 5 bonus prizes. 2 really cool games that we've created. One is a poker style card game that's currently in production. It's going to be out at the end of June. The other is a board game about the writing life. It's cross between Monopoly and Chutes of Ladders, and it's super fun, and you'll have a good time with it. Then Mark Bello is giving away 5 of his books in his Zachary Blake thriller series. And Jacob Bullen is giving away 6 books and a really snazzy t-shirt. So there's tons of really cool stuff that you can win. Here's the poem. I'm going to read it for you, but it's going to be posted tomorrow on Facebook. I didn't get a chance to post it today, but here it is. Out of my, just copyright acknowledgement, I stole this in part from a Girl Scout campfire song. So
I'm sure that's public domain by now.
Well, let's hope. Otherwise, I'm in big trouble. Okay. Out of my window, looking through the night, I can see the sailboats flickering light. Starboard shines green and port is glowing red. I can see the sailboats straight ahead. Sailboats, are there treasures in your hold? Many trunks filled with silver and gold. Sailboats, are there captains at your helm, bringing books for readers of our town? So there you go. Silly little poem. I think I was 10 the first time I sang it around a campfire. I changed it a little bit for us. Andrew, would you pretty please tell us about the amazing Ultimate Performance Prize you are so generously donating?
So, of all the videos posted, our membership will vote for the ultimate performance, and that person will win the astounding grand prize. It's the Embracing Fear Start with a Copy of A Slice of Fear by me, Andrew Allen Smith. Then take it to the next level as you find your way to Barnes & Noble to spend your $50 gift card on new books and pirate booty. But you aren't done. You have to eat and use your $25 American Express gift card for dinner, a cool bookmark, or a nifty eye patch. What better way to face your fear and move past it with books and your imagination? This will all be yours if you're chosen. So it's time to get your performance on.
Absolutely. So just so everybody knows, again, I'm going to post everything tomorrow, but the videos, post them right away as soon as you find out if you're a winner or not. And then the ultimate performance video will be voted on, and that prize will be awarded at our Venetian Night Wrap Party on June 30th. So you'll have some time to practice the poem, find a costume, all that fun stuff. Finally, Kate, again, can you help me out? We have a new interactive Harbor Store catalog.
We do. Whoops. We have, yeah, my mouse just went flying. We have a brand new catalog where you can find the books from all of the authors, the ones tonight, the ones previous to tonight, and the ones that are to come. strongly encourage you to go check it out. All of the royalties go to the author's pages. Promotions is not keeping any of that because she's just 10 times of awesome like that. So I've been putting that in the chat. I'm going to put it in again. And so if you are interested, and again, how could you not be after tonight, go over and grab the books from tonight because they were wonderful. I think all of us cried at least a little bit, and that doesn't happen too often. So go buy some books.
In the catalog, you'll see it's very intuitive. It's interactive. Change the page, switch the pages. There's an index. It's all kinds of fun. So check it out. It's on the website. Again, thank you, Harbor Crew. Thank you, authors. Real quick, because we're running short on time because I started late. Shots Across the Bow, Carolyn Topperman.
Stress. I mean, tonight was awesome, you guys, and I loved your books, and I'm so excited to read them and pick them up. Yeah, they were both so great. So I'm really glad I came out tonight, and I'm hoping to see everybody every night or as much as possible this month.
Brent, Shots Across the Bow.
My big takeaway from everything I heard tonight is if you, from both Andrew and Barbara, if you encounter people who are dealing with things, say you care. And don't make it about you. That's the biggest thing. It's not about you. And remember that. That's all I have.
Absolutely. Thank you very, very much. Deborah, Shots Across the Bow.
Just that I'm really glad I was here tonight. I mean, your books are tremendous and your hearts are tremendous. And I'm just thankful for you both and for the courage you both have had to write these books and to be able to share them and willing to share them with people. So thank you. And I'm definitely buying them.
Barbara, any parting shots across the bow, ma'am?
Yes, I want to just say thank you so much for being welcoming and encouraging and just definitely, fueling I'm an author, fire and making everything worthwhile. I really appreciate all of your support and kind words. It means so much to me. Thank you.
Christopher, Shots Across the Bow, sir.
2 nights in a row, two groups of outstanding authors. I loved both of your excerpts. I loved how much of your heart was in it, Barbara. I loved your entire style of writing it. I thought it was amazing. Andrew, I think your book is long overdue for getting out there. And I think Brent was right. It's not all about everyone. It's about me. But no, I loved it. I am hooked right now. So
awesome.
Thank you.
Andrew, kind sir, Shots Across the Bow.
Well, first I have something for Christopher. Christopher, if you get a chance, there is an old Twilight Zone called The Hunt, and you should watch it because it's about dogs going to heaven, and you'll really enjoy it. But I really appreciate Barbara. I think that she has a passion that many people in life are missing now, and it's taken a lot for her to stand up and be out here like this. And as always, I appreciate all of you and everybody that's on here. I wish my sister would have been here, although there probably wouldn't have been a dry eye in the building or any of the buildings, but still, I'm glad that we got a chance to share this and hope to do it again soon.
Awesome.
And just as an extra piece, the printed book, all of the formatting came out. Everything is out there now, so it'll all be online sometime today.
Awesome.
Yay.
Thank you very, very much. Thank you, everyone, for coming out. Thank you, Captains of Literary Wonderment. Thank you, Harbor Crew. It's June. We're doing it again tomorrow. Come on out at 7 o'clock and join us. I can't remember which one it is tomorrow, but, everything's on you expect me to remember? Everything's on the Facebook page. Everything's on the website. Sign up.
I'll be
Join us.
there.
And Andrew will be singing tomorrow. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a glorious and safe and happy and wonderful evening. Thank you. Good night.
Bye.